from Kim, and she can fuck all night.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, for the first time in this series and in this season, defeat the Colorado Avalanche. This one in Game 3, the first home game of the series, by a final score of 6-2. This was an absolute must-win for the Tampa Bay Lightning after getting rocked in Game 2, 7-0, and falling in the series 2-0. Now, in Stanley Cup final history, did you know this is the first time since 1919 where a team that lost by 7 or more goals responds with a win the next game? Isn't that crazy? Who gives a shit? ESPN can flash all the stats they want. They're meaningless. Oh my god. Teams who go up 2-0 in a Stanley Cup final have won the series 90% of the time. Oh, well, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they haven't lost back-to-back games in the playoffs since 2019. Colorado, they haven't lost a road playoff game this year. At the end of the day, who gives a shit? Because they're made to be broken. Every single stat that I just named has been debunked. So, if you're ever watching these ESPN broadcasts, you're like, whoa, that's a really crazy stat. Like, oh, that's giving me a lot of faith. Don't buy into that shit. It's all stupid. Another thing about ESPN is I don't give a shit, like, what team you support. They are terrible. Like, they're actually dog shit at broadcast. Who gave them permission to broadcast the Stanley Cup final games? Or just NHL games in general, for that matter, because they don't know what they're talking about. It's actually kind of comical listening to how atrocious they are on the mic. But sorry, this is a recap on a National Hockey League game, not the broadcast of said National Hockey League game. But I think we can all agree to some extent that ESPN is pretty terrible with their broadcasts. In the first period, don't recall who, but somebody for Colorado scored, getting the Avs on the board first. But oh wait, it was offsides by about this much, and it actually was a very lengthy review. It was so close that it took the Toronto Situation Room a very long time to come up with a conclusive answer. A lot of people think, oh, well, it wasn't conclusive evidence. I don't know what to tell you. It's close enough. Back in the Florida Panthers series, I think it was game 3 or 4, I can't remember, there was a play where Andre Palat had shot the puck out of play, and Killorn scored. They reviewed the video for 10 minutes. Now, did the puck go out of play in that game? Probably. My issue with it was that there wasn't conclusive evidence. And the reason that I know there wasn't conclusive evidence is the fact that they reviewed it for 10 minutes. If you watch replays of something from every camera angle for 10 minutes straight, and then you decide that, oh yeah, okay, I guess that's conclusive, it's not conclusive. So, this offside call that was called back for the first Avs goal of today's game, was it conclusive? If the Palat shooting the puck out of play back in round 2 was conclusive, then this most certainly was conclusive. I just want consistency. That's all. And they're bringing it. So I agree with the call. Obviously, I'm going to say I agree with the call. I'm a Lightning fan. But I think it's the right call regardless. If I was on the other side of it, I'd be like, oh, that's not looking good for us. 99% of the time, I don't blame referees for the outcome of a game. I just don't. So, regardless of if this goal counted or not, Lightning still likely win the game. So that's just my input on that. But, Colorado would get on the board regardless, just a couple of minutes after this disallowed goal. This one comes from Landeskog on the power play, and the Avalanche go up 1-0, and so far it's feeling like more of the same. Avalanche are they're outplaying the Lightning and whatnot. And then a couple of minutes later, Anthony Cirelli would score on an assist from Pat Maroon. I'm sorry, Darcy Kemper. What are you doing here? This was... If Vazzy would have let that goal in, I would be handing it to him right now. I'd be sitting here not too happy. We'll just put it that way. But either way, it trickles past Darcy Kemper, and the Lightning tie the game up at 1 apiece. 2 minutes later, Andre Palat scores. And this was a sick setup. Andre Palat enters the zone, drops it back for Stammer. Stammer makes an excellent pass cross ice, and Andre Palat finds a window, as it appeared that Darcy Kemper had most of the net covered. I was kind of surprised on the replay seeing that the puck actually went past Kemper, because again, it seemed like he had a lot of it covered, but just an absolutely amazing setup, and this was like, wow, they're looking like the Lightning. But of course, when you are coming off a 7-0 loss 2 days ago, no lead feels safe, especially this early in the game. So we go into the second period, just a minute and 26 seconds in, Nick Paul scores his 5th of the postseason. Nick Paul has become one of my favorite Lightning players, and we just got him this season. He's made such an impact. I think he skates and he fights harder than any other player on this Bolts team. He's really fun to watch. He's been an excellent addition for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning would go back to the box as Colorado would go back up on the power play, and Landeskog scores his 2nd power play goal of the night. And the Avs are within reach. It's 3-2. Just a few minutes later, this would be followed up by Steven Stamkos. Stamkos finds a pass from Kucherov all alone in front of the net, and Stammer just does this really cool spin move and puts it past Kemper to put the Bolts up 4-2. The lead is doubled, and the Bolts, you could tell at this point, are feeling themselves a lot better than they have this entire series so far. So we play on with a 4-2 lead. At the 11-minute, 15-second mark into the second period, Pat Maroon scores. And it was at this point that I knew that Colorado was not going to win this game because they let Pat Maroon score. Listen, I love the Big Rig. He is one of my favorite players, but he is not built to be a Stanley Cup final goal scorer, especially against a team with an offense as fast as the Colorado Avalanche. So when he scores this goal, when Darcy Kemper lets this roller up his jersey sleeve, up over his shoulder and into the net from Pat Maroon, I knew the rest of the game was going to be rough for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, after this Pat Maroon goal, the Avalanche would pull Darcy Kemper for Francouz, who has played, I think, 6 games for Colorado this postseason. They've been kind of on and off with their goaltending. I don't really know what the entire deal was there because I don't really watch a whole lot of other series other than the Lightning. All I know is that Francouz has played games this playoff in net, so it's not like they're just bringing him in. He hasn't played yet, so I mean he's had experience this year, this postseason, but just throw him in like that. And he would only give up 1 goal. It was the final goal of this game, also coming in the second period. It was Corey Perry on a shot that trickled past Francouz into the crease, just stopped in the crease, and Perry was there to clean it up and just right in the net. There was nothing Francouz could have done about that, so I don't blame him at all, and I wouldn't blame him if I were a Colorado fan. That one came on the power play, so all in all, the Avalanche had 2 power play goals, the Lightning had 1. Avalanche had no even strength goals in this game, which was very surprising to me, considering the fact that they scored 7 on us last game. And have you watched the Avalanche this playoff? They're insanely fast. This was a must-win game, like I said, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they win it. They come into this game. A lot of teams, I think, would feel like after a 7-0 loss in the final, the next game would probably just sit back and think, I don't like this. But the Lightning just don't give a shit. I've learned that about the Lightning these last couple of playoff runs. They don't give a shit about your storylines. They don't give a shit about how the last game went. They're focused on now. And that's why this team is so resilient. New York in the Eastern Conference Final, they go up 2-0. They lead Game 3 2-0. Lightning don't give a shit. 4 straight wins. Lightning are finding themselves in the same predicament they did last round right now. They go down 2-0 in the series. They go home. Now they win 1. They play Game 4 at home on Wednesday. But if it's anything like the last series, and like I said last game, I'm not suggesting that the Avalanche are anything like the Rangers, but if this is anything like the last series, the Lightning may find themselves tying this series up on Wednesday. This is the thing though, is in that Game 3 versus New York, the Lightning owned most of it. I still feel like, even though they won 6-2 today, I still feel like Colorado owned a lot of the game. I feel like Vazzy was just on his A game today. The Bolts played how they needed to play, but I still feel like Colorado owned a lot of the zone time. I feel like they still played a solid game. And that's what's scary about this Colorado team. They lose 6-2, but you still feel like they outplayed you in at least half the game, if not most. So, I don't know, man. It's hard to say, but one thing's for certain. A win's a win in Game 4 on Wednesday. I think that's also a must-win for the Lightning. I cannot see the Bolts here coming back down 3-1 in the series. I think if you want to win this series, you have to tie it up at home. I think the keys to winning this series for the Lightning, you have to win out at home. Assuming this goes to 7, the Lightning have to win at home, and they don't have to win one on the road. They have to sneak one out on the road. They have to get a couple of lucky bounces, I feel like, in one of the road games, because Colorado is so damn good at home. And they've been damn good on the road, though, too. I will say that. This is their first road loss this year. So, like I said, the stats really don't mean anything until they're proven wrong. Simply put. There were a couple of Bolts injuries this game. Nick Paul looked really hurt, and then miraculously he came back into the game and got a goal and kept playing the rest of the game. That was remarkable to watch. I don't know what the extent to his injury was, but again, he's a warrior, man. Like, he is so fun to watch. He plays with more heart, I feel like, than any other player on the Lightning. Again, he's been incredible for the Bolts ever since we picked him up at the trade deadline this season. Braden Point did not play this game, which is another convincing factor in this Lightning win, as they did this without Braden Point. Third of all, Kucherov. Kucherov took a hit, looked like it hurt his leg or his knee or something. I haven't learned the injury yet, but he looked like he was in pain, which is not a good sign. Lightning can't win this series without Kucherov. He's a huge factor. And so if he's out, the Bolts are going to be in for a rough time these next few games. So that was not a good thing to see there. And I guess lastly, there's talk about the Lightning fans throwing their noisemakers on the ice after the game. Even the Lightning players were telling the fans to stop. Like, it's annoying, it's obnoxious, you're hitting us, this is ridiculous. What's bothering me is the fact that I'm seeing a generalization of all Bolts fans. Like, this is what all of us do. It's quite despicable how the Lightning fans are being portrayed online based on a few drunk people. Now, let me say this. This whole thing with, like, throwing shit on the ice, at Amalie Arena, at least, it all started last season when the New York Islanders won Game 6 in New York, and they started throwing beer cans on the ice. They just forced a Game 7. You didn't win shit. You start throwing beer cans on the ice, and the players accepted it. The players welcomed it. Even in the interview, they were like, I guess we're rolling with this. Like, it's cool. So, what did the Lightning fans do the following game when they clinched the final? They threw their clappers on the ice in a response to the Islanders fans, to mock the Islanders fans. So, I feel like for that one game, it was funny. It was a nice little get back at you kind of deal. But I've seen the Lightning fans continue this on, and I think it's ridiculous. But, if you're an Avalanche fan, you think, oh my God, Bolts fans are so classless. No, this is a couple of bad apples in a very respectable fan base, believe me. So sorry, I guess. I don't agree with it either. Just is what it is. You have those fans in every fan base that are going to do that shit. So, it is what it is. But so I guess, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, the Lightning look forward to Game 4 on Wednesday, their second home game of this series, and in my opinion, it is another must-win. So we will see how the Bolts play. How do the Avalanche respond to this loss? How do the Bolts continue this momentum up in the next game? We'll have to see. Only time will tell. But this is a Colorado team that will not go away easily. I'll catch you then. It's your boy Chief Bolts. Peace out.